before we begin, this video is sponsored by Manscaped. They've just launched the Lawnmower 3.0 in the Republic of Ireland. You could be one of the first people to get this product. It is perfect for when you're trying to trim those hairs down below, and also it comes with an LED light, so it allows you to find those rougher edges a lot smoother. And obviously it works in the shower, so it is waterproof, so you can use it down there. But you don't always have to just get that product. There's lots of other products on their website at manscaped.com. Use the code IFFTV for 20% off and free shipping. Check it out in the description.
Hello, welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. This is the live watch along. It's Newcastle against Aston Villa, or Aston Villa against Newcastle, if you want to put it that way. I'm joined by Paul Tierney. Paul, how are we on this fine Saturday?
Hey man, how's it going? All good. Bar the Arsenal result, all good.
What happened? They were playing their kids though, weren't they?
Yeah, he played a very weak inside. Left Smith Rowe and Tierney at home. Didn't start Saka, and Aubameyang had to leave for personal reasons or something. I don't know what the story is there, but yeah, disappointing considering we were holders and it seemed like they just wanted to get knocked out of the cup. So, look, it is what it is. We have to move on.
And Arsenal signed Martin Odegaard on loan from Real Madrid. Another player with the initials MO, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Happy or sad, or do you care?
It's a good sign, and it's a bit of a gamble, really, isn't it? You know, I mean, like, he's never really done it for Real Madrid. Had a good spell with Sociedad last season. They done very well. But again, it's still a bit of a gamble. But they do have to bring a creative player in to replace Ozil, obviously, with those wages going out as well. So it's an opportunity for the kid. Hopefully he does something. And yeah, I mean, look, they need to make signings. So it's something, I suppose. But we have to wait and see.
He's like a wonder kid, though. Like, he was signed by Real Madrid. I think he was probably under the age of 16 anyway. Came... Then he didn't really hit the ground running then when he got to Real Madrid. There was obviously all the hype around him, you know, and I don't think he got on with Zidane at the start. He went out to a few clubs and now he came back. I think he's done all right, but there's probably that thing still there with Zidane anyway, that he doesn't get on with him. But Norway are producing a lot of good youngsters at the moment. You know, obviously Haaland and him as well. There's a couple of others in there too.
Yeah, definitely. I think Zidane doesn't seem to get on with a lot of people by the things with Gareth Bale, and there's been a couple of others as well. Odegaard's still young as well. Probably for the best that he went out on loan to Sociedad last year and done very well. I think you look at Haaland as well. Haaland's probably even on another level than Odegaard as well. If you look at him, the goal scoring he gets, even when Dortmund are losing, he's scoring 2, 3. So, I mean, Haaland's obviously a fantastic player, and the Norwegians are someone to be feared in the coming years, I'd say.
Yeah, I think El Yanusi as well at Celtic's a very good player too. He scored a nice goal there the other night, although it wasn't a great result for Celtic. He still scored a nice goal. Yeah, just a couple of people in the comments. Just there, David Salter, a while back before we even begin, he says, "Honda lads," with 2 Ireland emojis, I think that is. And then Cian Connolly says, "Hello lads, predictions for today." I presume he means the Newcastle and Villa game here that we're watching. Obviously Jeff Hendrick's starting, so I think that, and Conor Hourihane is left for Swansea, so I probably want to see Newcastle win for Jeff's sake. I'd like to see maybe get on the score sheet. Prediction wise, I'd probably see Villa win this 1-2-1. Paul, what about you?
I'd go down the route of a draw. I think Villa haven't really played, obviously, because of the coronavirus outbreak that was there, and Newcastle have been in terrible form. So a draw wouldn't be the worst result for them. So yeah, I'd go 1-1 maybe. It has a feel of a real 1-1 game. But yeah, hopefully Hendrick does well. And as you mentioned, Hourihane's gone off to Swansea as well.
Yeah, we'll come back to him in a sec. Just anybody who's watching the video, make sure you give it a like. And there's 19 people in total watching. The majority are watching on Facebook. There's only 2 likes on Facebook, sort that out. And then there's 5 watching on YouTube, so make sure you get over sort it out as well. If you're not following the page, make sure you are now, and subscribe as well if you wouldn't mind, please. It really helps the channel grow. Jeff Hendrick starting. What's gone wrong for Jeff Hendrick and Newcastle so far this season, in your opinion, Paul?
I think with Newcastle, it's always the case of we expect a bit more from them, even though they're generally always down near the bottom of the table. Steve Bruce's style of play at times is questionable. You look at the night we watched them against Sheffield United, I know they got a red card or whatever. they probably could have gone for it a bit more, even when they did get the red card. They're very defensive minded. He's a very defensive minded manager and must be very frustrating to play under. Callum Wilson's the only one who really gets any goals. And I just think with Jeff Hendrick, he's just been out of form for the last couple of years and he's struggling to get back into that. And hopefully that improves today for him. But again, with Newcastle, they're just very defensive minded. And I think Bruce could be on the way out in the next couple of games if the results don't improve.
It's funny you say that because Rafa has left China now. I wouldn't say he go back to Newcastle. It's actually favoured for the Celtic job. But it'd be funny if he went back to Newcastle and then they actually got that takeover that was meant to happen. I kind of feel sorry for Steve Bruce in a way because, you know, he's came in there, he steadied the ship. I think he's done better than Rafa last season as well. Mm-hmm. And he still gets abuse. Obviously, he was the Sunderland manager, so that's never going to help your case. But the fact that, you know, he's been given limited sources to kind of do anything with, you're going to look at the players that he has a very average squad. And realistically, looking at them, and I know Newcastle fans, if they're watching, they won't like hearing this, but, you know, there probably should be a team that are kind of fighting relegation. You know, they're punching above their weight a little bit at the moment. Obviously, if they had a bit of investment, they would do a lot better and they'd have better players and so on, and they could attract better players, you know, the stadium and stuff like that, the fans that they have. But players like, you know, Joel Linton and all, who they've tried to bring in players, but they just haven't hit the ground running. St. Maximin just popped up on the screen there. I don't know what the story's been with him. I think he had COVID and then he's kind of gone off the boil a little bit since he came back. I think he thinks he's bigger than the club, but just kind of back to Hendrick. It just seems to be like Burnley all over again. He's playing at a club that don't really suit his style of play, but I kind of in that mind frame now of kind of what is Jeff's best style of play or what would best suit him, and I don't really know. I don't know what his best position is. One, he says he's a centre midfielder. He's been pushed out on the right at times. He's been played in the number 10 role for Ireland. I can imagine that's a very frustrating position because if you look at the way we play, it's very much, well, until recently, it's been very much a long ball kind of game. Press from the front and long ball. But I think when you're looking at him at Newcastle, he's just kind of being like a sitting midfielder. And it's just, he doesn't really get time on the ball or anything like that. What would you say is his best kind of, if you had to pick his best attributes, what do you think his best attributes would be and how could a team facilitate him, I suppose?
No, he's more of a box-to-box midfielder. You look how he played at the Euros in 2016. I think we all harp back to that as well, and maybe just after it. You know, he's going forward, he's creating chances and nicking goals as well. That's what he was doing as well, or getting close to nicking goals as well. He's definitely a centre midfielder. You can see that. I know myself from playing centre mid that there's not many other places you want to play bar there once you play there. So it's quite tough. I think his best, he's a good passer of the ball. He's got a great shot on him as well, which we forget at times. You know, he's very close to scoring a couple of worldies in that Euros as well. And I just don't think they've utilised them as well as they can. You look at Burnley. I mean, the way Burnley play, we know what they're going to do. And it works well for them, so you can't really question that. You look at the other night, they got a great result against Liverpool. That's how they play. You've just got to get on with it. And Jeff, obviously, he'd done it for a couple of years and got frustrated. But it looks like it's the same thing with Newcastle. Similar style of manager as well. You know, Deutsch and Bruce, you wouldn't pick much between them there. But, as I said, he's a good passer of the ball. He's a great shot on them. And he's box to box. And I think he's best when he's playing down the middle.
Just a guy in the comments there, Kyle Muckin, says Leeds United style of play would suit Hendrick. I disagree because I don't think, as much as he is a grafter, I don't think that all, high press, very high kind of in your face type of play which Bielsa plays. I don't think that's the kind of way he plays. I think he's very much like he can do a lot. He can cross the ball, he can shoot, he can pass the ball, as you said, but I don't, just one of his best features for me, and you might argue with the goal against Wales that McLean scored, that he pressed from the front and that, but I don't see it enough for me to think that he could play in a Leeds side. But then again, Leeds probably wouldn't want him right now. I don't know. I think that's a bit of a strange one. Like not to Kyle. I just mean that I try to think of a team that might suit his style of play, and I just can't think of anyone.
Yeah, I think with Leeds as well, it's a bit of a mad way they play. It's just like gung ho, like 110% all the time. But then they just get caught out by teams that are better than them, and that's been the case the last while, you know. I think Bielsa would obviously want loads of effort. I think you're going to get that with Jeff as well. So maybe it would suit him. But again, with Leeds, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think anyone would like playing the way Leeds play, to be honest. It's just gung-ho all the time. So, I mean, it's a tough one to call. Like, even when he was at Derby as well, like, maybe go back to that. He was one of the main men for Derby. They nearly got promoted as well a couple of times. Probably that formation, when the way they played that time, would best suit Jeff. But again, that's going back a few years now. Steve McLaren was the manager at the time there as well. You don't know. It's a tough one to call. It's like, as we spoke about before, Brian Burke playing for Rovers. You don't know actually where he plays. Like, he's just kind of filling in, and that's it, you know.
Yeah, I just think that maybe the move to Newcastle, when I look at it, it's a bit of a sidestep rather than a move forward. I thought when he moved to Newcastle originally, it was going to be a good move for him, but it just seems to be like Sean Dyche. He likes the fact that Hendrick can play.
Oh, there's 1-0. Ollie Watkins puts Villa ahead.
You're obviously a couple of minutes before me, or a couple of seconds before me. I'll come back to the goal in a sec, but just in terms of the way the managers kind of just use him as a utility player, basically. And that's what Burnley did, and I think that's why he wanted to leave. Now, he probably went to Newcastle under the assurances that he'd be... Yes, the goal there, great... poor defending, great goal though, from a Villa point of view.
It might give him offside here, maybe. No,
but
I don't think
the defender's foot.
Ah, yeah, sure, they won't give it then.
Shah,
you never know with VAR. You never know with VAR.
Shah doesn't like VAR anyway, that's for sure. I don't like him because he scored against us, didn't he? And then he prevented Connolly scoring a goal for Brighton as well. So I just don't like. He's a good player though. Like
I got to admit, that was a lovely goal the Swiss got that night in the Aviva. They played it really well, I remember.
It was a nice goal, edge of the box, and but it comes off the defender there, so surely that's a goal.
Yeah, it's grand. It's given they're back playing again. So, I don't know. You never know. You kind of question everything nowadays, don't you? You don't know whether to celebrate or not. You don't know whether it's a yard offside or it's madness.
But the players don't even know. Like, I went on a 5k run it was 2 days ago. I went on one again today. But anyway, I was listening to Andros Townsend on BBC's Football Daily podcast, and he was saying like the players don't even know the rules anymore because they change it so much. Like the handball rule, Andros Townsend was the Premier League players were brought into a meeting at the start of the season, and they were told this is going to be the changing of the rules, handball, this, that, the other, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, the captains all have to go and represent their Premier League clubs, and the refs told them that they were changing the handball rule again, but they never actually told them what it was. And it's becoming more and more of a talking point. I think maybe it's because they've introduced a load of new rules, and everything's like, well, no one knows what's going on. I think maybe in a couple of years people start to get it, but I'm not a huge fan of it when you're doing offside by like the slightest of margin. I thought, what happened to kind of giving the striker the advantage? Like, even going back to the Merseyside derby when Mane was ruled offside for that Henderson goal, and then McGoldrick won against Spurs. Like, I just think, like, if I supported that team, I'd be so annoyed. Or if I was that player, I'd be so annoyed that you're just getting pulled up for stuff that was just it wasn't.
Yeah,
I know it is offside, you know, realistically, but it's like a hair.
Yeah. Exactly. And as you said, the strikers are supposed to get the advantage on the offside, and that's just gone out the window now by the sound of it as well. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned those two there, particular the Henderson one. I mean, it was like, God, his nose was offside. Like, I mean, it's mental. Like,
I was happy with that one, by the way.
Oh yeah, obviously. Like, I mean, if it's the other way, you'd be delighted.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I was watching Arsenal today, and like, you can see from your own angle, like that Pepe was offside one time. Like, and I could see on the telly he was offside. And they wait, and then they give it. And I know that's for the VAR, but like, if you know it's offside, just give it and we'll go ahead. Like, if they're miles ahead, just give it and we can get on with it. Like, you know, you're waiting and then they think they have a chance and then it's stopped. It's really frustrating. Like, you can't get excited about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it ruins as well. Like, the fact that players can't celebrate really annoys me. Like, I think that's part of it. Like, when I see a player or the team I support celebrating, it's a joyous occasion. It's a joyous moment. and it's taken away because they're always looking to see what's VAR, and the fact that with the COVID they're trying to take away celebrations as well. I mean, like, come on, they're all around the same bubble, pretty much all week to get together. You know what I mean? So the fact that there's people fighting in octagons and all tonight, and they're going to be as close as anything, and they'll be hugging afterwards as well. It's just any sort of thing. It'd be bad for people watching at home to see players hugging. No, it won't. Fans want to see their players celebrate. Sorry, but that they do.
Yeah, like you look at they're jostling at corners. They're doing corner routines where four of them are in a line holding each other's back as well. It makes no sense. And you got a good point there. But again, it's just people giving out for sake of giving out. I work in a shop myself, and they give out about everything. They give out about everything. And that's it.
Anti-maskers as well. But anyway, so Cian Ryan has just kind of added to the I think it was the Hendrick debate. He just says, Shame is only our third best midfielder at the moment behind Malumbi and Cullen. Now, it's actually a good point just to touch on. We kind of went off on one about Hendrick anyway, because so many different things happen and Watkins scored and stuff. Just for Hendrick, I just think he's been used as a bit of a utility player, and I don't really think the moves worked out for him this far. That's not to say that it won't. And if Bruce gets sacked, who knows what could happen with Jeff? But he just seems to be struggling late. And I know he's in today. I'm pretty sure Newcastle played the other night as well. So that's probably why he's gotten this chance. And I know the last time they were actually wearing that kit when I watched him, he scored a nice goal on the volley, and then they lost that game. But he done well. I thought maybe the goal made me think that I thought he done well. But I've been watching Newcastle the last couple of weeks, and they've been all right, but they haven't been amazing. But that's like the story of Newcastle in general since they've been back up, even with Rafa. So just on that with Hendricks. But back to that comment. Just obviously Josh Cullen captaining Anderlecht, which is brilliant to see, and Vincent Kompany's came out and praised him again, and obviously made him captain. Malumbi played the other night, went on and got an assist, a great assist. And that's the type of thing I think Ireland need, is someone who drives from midfield into the opposition's half and tries to make things happen. We did see him do it against Wales a couple of times, but he did it the other night against Birmingham for Preston in a nice green jersey as well. Hopefully that could be a familiar thing. But he just laid it off there for Scott Sinclair. He scored 1-0. And I think Alex Neil was coming out in major praise for him as well. So look, it's good to have midfielders in form, and I think that's something we haven't had in a while. And I think midfield's a real area of concern for a lot of people, because there's players there, and the players that have been in there for the last, I'd probably say 5 years, they haven't really done it. Now, in individually, you'd probably say Glenn Whelan has done a good job there when called upon, and I believe so. Whereas the other two, if we're playing in like a 4-3-3, they're just a little bit anonymous for me, and I'm talking probably like Conor Howrahan and Jeff Hendrick types. Whereas now it looks like we've got some young, energetic midfielders who like to get on the ball and receive it again. You've got Knight, you've got Malumbi, you've got Cullen, and you have James McCarthy there as that pivot as well. He can play that defensive midfielder instead of Glenn Whelan, because it looks like Stephen Kenny's just not going with him, which I understand at his age now, which is fine. Yeah. But you're looking in that midfield. We could be going to March with a totally new look midfield, and I don't think fans would be against that. Now, I think Conor Howrahan's a very good player. Yes, I do. Do I see him do it enough for Ireland? Probably not. But is he a victim of the tactics? That's what I would wonder as well. What are your thoughts anyway on our midfielders that are in form, and then we can talk about the midfielders that probably aren't in form.
Yeah,
so,
well, I think,
start off with Cullen, I suppose.
Yeah, well, Cullen obviously he captained Anderlecht last night as well, didn't he? Company obviously fancied some of the player. Personally, I remember we were talking a bit about him last year as well for Charlton. When he got injured, Charlton really struggled because they didn't really have anyone in the midfield kind of running it, like is what every team needs, is someone just to get passing going, especially at the start of a game. So I think obviously Company fancies him. He's playing in a good European league, a league that teams generally do well when they come into Europe. You look at Club Brugge the last while, have done well in the Champions League. And obviously Anderlecht, they're a very big club in Belgium, probably the biggest club in Belgium, so it's good to see there. Malumbi, I mean, we know his talent. He came into the Ireland team a couple of times. He's gone on loan to Preston now. On loan, isn't he? He didn't sign.
Yeah, he's on loan,
Yeah. So I mean, listen, and it started great for him. He set up a goal, set up the winner the other night at Birmingham, which is a great start for him, and it's great to see. Obviously there's other Irish lads at Preston as well, so it'd be good for him as well. Get chatting with those boys and keep up the good form. In terms of the lads that are out of form, Hourihane hasn't really played. He played a bit at the start of the season, and he actually got a goal at Fulham, I think he did. Yeah. I mean, going to Swansea is a good thing as well. Swansea score a lot of goals. They create a lot of chances. They've got Andre Ayew up front. Hourihane's playing that midfield. All he used to do was pick those boys out, and they'll take the chances in that division because they're better. They are better players than that division, not slating the championship. But Andre Ayew has played in World Cups. You know, that's it. That's the difference. In terms of Hendrick as well, I mean, you're saying he's just coming in to fill in a gap. He's not playing his actual position. And that's unfortunate for him because we know his abilities. And, you look at the other lads in the midfield. I mean, I always think with international football, you should go with the in-form lads. But that's just me. I'm not the manager. But personally, I always think that. And if they deserve an opportunity to come in, they deserve an opportunity to come in. That's my opinion.
But do you think that too many managers over the years? Sorry, I'm just letting people know on Twitter that we're online. Do you think people? Oh, Andy Carroll close there. I think no, it wasn't. It was the Cells. Do you think managers have been very loyal to the players, like in previous campaigns? Martin O'Neill, Mick McCarthy. I don't think Stephen has yet. I don't think he's had a chance to be loyal to anyone really because COVID and stuff like that. But there was players there. I thought. No matter what, we're always starting. And I think that might be down to, I know Mick always did that in his first time around as manager. He had players who weren't really playing at their clubs and he would persist with them anyway. And it worked well, I suppose, when you think of Jason McAteer and a couple of others like that. He always used to like them. And in fairness, I think Mick was quite loyal to Conor Hourihane in some ways, that even when we were playing friendlies, he played Hourihane at left back. I think it was against Bulgaria in terms of getting him minutes for his club, and that worked out well because he started getting game time for Villa. In fairness to him, but sometimes it can work out in that way. But some of them, when they're just not like O'Dowda, maybe I think Stephen might be a little bit loyal to him as time goes on. I just don't see enough of him. But do you think that could be something that has maybe held someone like a Josh Cullen back, who's been in the squad but just never really played unless it was a friendly? I know he played Nations League and stuff like that, but he was a late substitute in the games that I remember.
Yeah, well, I think with international football, it's a game of chess. It's not like club football at all. It's constant. You're just holding out whatever Paul Tierney, the Prem rep. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of him myself, but look, it's just that.
Who is?
He's terrible. He's terrible. It's just a coincidence, though, isn't it? Back to those midfielders. I think with international football, it's not just ourselves. You see it with a lot of teams. You look at like the Italians, for example. The reason they struggled and didn't get to the last World Cup was because they still had players like De Rossi playing centre midfield. And no disrespect to Daniele De Rossi, he was a fantastic footballer, but he's been in that midfield for 14, 13 years now. And there comes a time when you have to change. Like the game is different now to it was in 2006 when Italy won the World Cup. And I think with Ireland, I mean, it's the same. Maybe they've held on to Glenn Whelan too long. Obviously, they know what he's going to do. But I remember in that Denmark game, the last one, he came over to take a corner and he was wrecked. He probably should have went off 5-10 minutes before that and let someone else take the corner, But I think they deserve opportunities. The Nations League was a good chance for that. And I mean, obviously Malumbi came in. Jason Knight was in the squad. Came on a couple of times as well. Jack Burns there too. I mean, you don't want to be chopping and changing too much, but I mean, when you get opportunities, you should. And it's tough to call, especially when a team's not in form. It's a tough one to call.
Yeah, just you were talking there about Daniele De Rossi. He's at Boca Juniors now, isn't he? Or something like
he went over there after he left Roma and all. Yeah. So they always seem to go over to Argentina and play for these. Well, to be fair, those clubs are massive. Boca and River Plate.
Oh yeah.
Those old boys, the likes.
Gary Spain is mad eager to go to a game in South America and Argentina. I thought I'd go with him, so if you ever want to go, we'll organise it. Just on actually Boca, there's 2 really good documentaries on Netflix. There's one of Carlos Tevez and his upbringing and stuff like that. It's really interesting. It's on Netflix. It's in Spanish, but you can get obviously subtitles. Really good. Really tough upbringing that I didn't know. Like, he was a very, very shanty town in Argentina where there's like killings and all this type of stuff, and hanging around with the wrong people and stuff like that. It's just it's a real awakening to kind of how football was how would I put it, a way out for him. Like, it was his release, kind of, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think if you get a chance to go back and watch it, I'll dig it out. Just remind me, but it's worth a watch if you get a chance. It's like a whole season. It's not just a movie. It's a whole season. I think it's the first part of the season as well. So maybe someone who is in the comments would be able to, if they've watched it, they'll be able to remember the name. I think it's The Place Where He Lived is the title, and then it says The Life of Carlos Tevez. I can't remember the name, but I will find it. And there's another one about Boca and kind of how they're, how the club is so massive and stuff like that, and everything about Boca and just kind of who they signed, and Tevez is in that one as well, actually.
Yeah,
and
you remember?
Really, really
you remember the likes, like they've always had big players like Riquelme and stuff, and they all want to go back all the time. And I mean, you look at even the couple of years ago, they were both in the Libertadores final, them and River Plate, and like that's a huge match. Like, they call it the Super Classico, like it's even bigger than the actual El Clasico, like, which is, I know that sums it up for me, to be honest. And it's the same with a lot of the Brazilian clubs as well, like Santos, Flamengo, all these teams. They're huge clubs, bigger than a lot of, some clubs who be in the Premier League now as well. So you just look at it that way, and it's great game.
You have to say that they love their football over there, South America, Brazil, Argentina, all those countries as well. Sure, they look at them at the World Cup and stuff like that, and they always, I feel, put on a show. And then you have like the likes of Chile and stuff like that as well. Obviously, with Alexis Sanchez and Vidal and stuff like that over the years, they've been good. Didn't they win the?
They won 2 Copa Americas in a row. Yeah, they'd never won it before, and then they won 2 in a row, and then they didn't qualify for the World Cup after that.
Yeah.
That qualification campaign is so tough. I'd say that's the toughest out of them all. Is like, it's 18 games over 3 years. Like, you have to go to places like Bolivia, play in the altitude. Like, that's a game in itself. Never mind beating the team,
Yeah, people don't realise these things. They just say Brazil, Bolivia, they should win. That's why Brazil struggled a lot over the years in terms of qualifying for things, and qualifying quite late, and then when they get into the World Cup, to just batter everyone. That was going back a few years now, though. But just another really good documentary as well. If you like a Netflix documentary, anyone who's watching, the Maradona, where he manages in Mexico, is really good as well, and how he turned the club around and stuff like this before he passed away. Really, really good. And he's just a legend. Like, everywhere he went, everybody loved him. And it's just there's just one really funny moment, where he's signing an autograph. He goes up to the cage. So basically all the fans are there and all the kids are screaming his name or something like that. And he just goes, "Hey, if you don't stop, I'm going over there. All right, I don't care. And he just immediately commanded the respect of everybody, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" And he stayed there. He signed everything and stuff like that. But he just didn't give a shit. It was so funny, the way he went on. He just didn't care. Another good clip of him is he did a documentary. I watched all this when he passed away. He did a good documentary with Gary Lineker, and Gary Lineker went over and watched a match of Boca Juniors with him, and did an interview with him by the pool and stuff like that. And he spoke about the hand of God and stuff like that. Really funny. You should definitely get it. If you get it, it's on YouTube. Type in just Gary Lineker and Maradona, and he watches a Boca Juniors game, and he's going mental for the whole game. Like, it's so funny. It's brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant.
I heard Lineker talking about that recently as well, and he said they were in his box, which is like right on the centre circle. And he said Maradona came out onto the balcony and he just went like that, like put his arms out, and they're all going mad for him. Like, I mean, I understand. If we had a player like that who pretty much won the World Cup on his own for us, I mean, it'd be exactly the same, So that's it. What a player.
I think you look at Liam Brady and he doesn't get any recognition. People just look at him and go, "Oh, there's that moany bastard off the or off RTE. That's what people like know him as. Do you know what I mean? Instead of this brilliant, absolutely brilliant player, you know, like he just like I remember reading when Maradona passed away how Brady was taking a penalty for Juventus and Napoli were playing them, and Maradona was trying to put him off and stuff like that, and just stories like that where just like that's priceless. Like Diego Maradona trying to put off one of our best players, but probably the best player to ever play for Ireland, up there with Roy Keane, Robbie Keane, and John Giles. If you're to go, and Paul McGrath, sorry, if you're to go with the absolute, like I suppose, goats of Irish football, you'd probably have them at the very top of the list, and Robbie, because in terms of the goals he scored, of course.
Yeah.
I may be missing one or two there, but if you're kind of picking a 5 or 6, you'd probably include the ones I've included, I'd say. But Duffer probably in there as well. But anyway, you look at Liam Brady, and he should have like a statue or what he did for Juventus and Arsenal and how good he was. Like it just shows that we just don't appreciate the players that we have. Like even look at Rooney at England and stuff like that. We just don't appreciate over here. And I suppose in the UK,
2-0. Sorry, I don't mean to say it. Watkins again.
Fair play.
I wish I took him out of my fantasy team. Oh no, it's offside. Never mind.
I bet you're happy now. But you look at that and you just think like over here, the UK and Scotland, they just I think when Grealish slipped him in, he was off, wasn't he? But you look at the players and they don't get the recognition. I'd say probably Shearer did, but you don't. You look at other players and I just don't think they get the recognition. I think of Roy Keane. I put up a video the other day on our Facebook page, and it's still going. It's still being shared. It was UEFA Champions League. He's just gone around winning tackles, and he was sliding in and just dominating midfielders. And that wasn't even showing his goals or his overall play. That was just him going around smashing into tackles, and people just loved it. But I just don't think he still really gets the recognition. He obviously has the Saipan thing that will always hang over his head in terms of being a real great. But and Brady, he doesn't really have any accolades for Ireland in terms of a Euros or a World Cup or anything like that. I think he was suspended or injured or both for the Euro '88. I'm pretty sure. And then in Italia '90, he was pretty much done. So you kind of feel sorry for him in that way that he didn't get the chances. But in terms of what he did in his club career, amazing. What a player. And like to hear of one of our players going over to Juventus and being the man who wins the Serie A and scores the winning goal after being told that Platini was coming in to replace him, because back then you could only have a certain amount of foreign players. But I think Liam Brady should have his own documentary and documenting the history and what he did and what his achievements were. And I just, maybe we'll do it, but I would just love to see it, because I just don't think he gets the proper recognition. I mean, legends like Maradona and stuff like that who played against him, thought he was brilliant as well. And you still hear a lot of people who grew up supporting Arsenal talking about Brady and why he was the reason why they support Arsenal. A lot of people in London as well, they say it too. And I just see David Salter just says it as well. Yeah, we beat Brazil in Lansdowne. I think it was Lansdowne. I could be wrong on that, but we beat them, and Brady scored the goal as well. Even though it was a friendly, as he says. So, I mean, it is a friendly, but the fact that he scored it and he always just turned up in terms of, I spoke there about the Serie A thing and being annoyed that Platini was coming in to replace him. I think I went a bit off subject there because I read that about the Brazil goal. But you could only have a certain amount of foreign players in your team at the time, and he was getting replaced, and he went to, who did he go to? Sampdoria, and then he ended up going to Inter and Ascoli and then back to West Ham. But I just think his story is fascinating. And I just don't think enough Irish youngsters really appreciate what he did, But yeah.
Yeah, I actually have a good story about that. When I went over to see Arsenal a couple of years ago now, and we were getting a taxi up to the Emirates because we were a bit away from it, getting us close enough to it, And talking to the taxi man, he was asking Arsenal fans, he's like, "Oh, I support them as well." And my dad just asked me, because my dad's older than me, obviously, said, "Who's the best player you've seen play for Arsenal?" And he said, "Liam Brady be first, and then Dennis Bergkamp would be a close second." And I think the reason he said that is because obviously listen, you can say Thierry Henry because of the amount of goals he scored, but these lads were just genuine top footballers. Like, you hear stories about them doing things, and you see the footage yourself. So I mean, that's it. If you have Arsenal fans in England saying Liam Brady's one of the best players this team playing for Arsenal, you know what you've just said is completely true. And the fact that he went to Italy at a time where, like, it was probably the top league in Europe for a while, you know, and done it there as well for Juve, a massive club, massive club. Like, that sums it up. So yeah, completely agree.
Pretty sure he won 2 titles as well. It's funny as well. I had a girl I was seeing a few years ago, and her dad was from London, Arsenal fan, and he also, Liam Brady, he was telling me all about him. You know, he was like, I grew up in the schoolyard wanting to be Liam Brady, you know, that's just how good he was. You hear that, you're just like, wow. And the same thing with Roy Keane. And I'd say there was other people with John Giles as well, back, you know, before, I suppose, your dad's time. Your dad might have caught the tail end of his career, maybe. I don't know.
My dad hated that Leeds team. He still hates Leeds now. But he appreciates Giles, but he hated Leeds. So, like, yeah.
But he played for Man United as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. But I think it was, like, more with Leeds. He was kind of, like, renowned and stuff, you know. Like, and he played for West Brom and managed them as well, didn't he?
And Rovers.
Rovers, yeah. Him and Dunphy coming back. That's
but he tried to get, like, I think he's doing well with Rovers.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Just back to that Carlos Tevez thing, because David Salter nailed it there. He says, "Is it Apache the life, Carlos Tevez?" That's the one. Yeah, it's really, really good. If you get a chance to watch it on Netflix, go and watch it. Apache, yeah, Apache pizza. Just think of it that way. And get yourself an Apache pizza. You know, pepperoni, ham, a little bit of garlic sauce, maybe some sweet corn on that.
The Carlos Tevez. There should be a pizza called the Carlos Tevez. What a player he was as well, by the way. Little bulldog.
Yeah, I'd say if you're a United fan, you hated him.
Yeah, well, yeah, true when he left. But I mean, he done some good things for United too when he was there. Won 2 leagues, got some very important goals from him on the way to those 2 leagues as well. Obviously,
Champions League as well.
Yeah, Champions League too. I mean, he was only on loan at United technically that time. West Ham 2-year loan. I mean, that was just West Ham praying that he didn't do well, so he'd come back. He was great for West Ham too. Kept them up. Scored at Old Trafford. Sheffield United still hate that.
It was mad that he scored the goal against United to stay up in the last game of the season. I'm pretty sure it was, or it was in and around that time, and he scored an absolute pearl of a free kick as well. But yeah, he was brilliant, and Ross Barkley's taking some nice touches here on the ball. But I just think, yeah, he was a great player, and obviously then he went to Juventus, done it there, and then went back to Boca, done well at Boca again, got his move to China, earned loads of money, and went back to Boca again. And he's still doing the business for Boca as well now. Well, that was in the documentary. I haven't been keeping up to date with Boca Juniors at the moment, but I think Maradona absolutely loved them. Yeah,
you look at, like, even I remember Tevez, the free kick you're talking. He got a free kick against Spurs. It was Spurs won 4-3, but I remember I think it was like his first or second goal for West Ham, went in off the bar, and he took his top off, and he wasn't like the skinniest bloke, and he jumped into the crowd and nearly killed all of them as well. It's brilliant. Like I know that's what you miss with the now fans as well, as the joy, like, and sometimes it overtakes the players.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the passion is what you want, and it's what you want to see in live games. You know, the fans, the roar, you know, the intimidation in many ways. I suppose, you know, when we are with Ireland in stadiums, you want the crowd to be intimidating on the players. Like, it used to be really intimidating for players coming over to play Ireland when it was Lansdowne a little bit, even in Croke Park to a degree, I would say too. And then just Viva, I don't know, maybe it's because it's so spread out, but I just don't get the intimidation factor. But when the fans are giving it loads, it's brilliant. Like after the Didzy goal against Switzerland, and then the Matt Doherty goal against Denmark as well. I actually kind of, looking back on that game, I kind of feel like we were unlucky in that game. They had one chance, Braithwaite scored that goal, and then, you know, Doherty gets that goal at the end. But if he hadn't just conceded, that would have been enough.
2-0, Bertrand Traore, and this one is definitely a goal. Definitely
from the corner.
just after, I think, I just looked on there. It's the edge of the box. He buries it right in the top corner. It's a great finish.
Well, he's gone to the edge of the box now. It's coming out to him.
They're giving out about something. Giving out about something anyway.
Oh, what a goal.
Yeah, he's took that very well.
Oh, there's right peg as well.
Villa have been very good this season. They were unlucky with the COVID, obviously. Like, they should be a lot higher than they are, really. I know it's very tight, but there's some good players there. Players who've done it in Europe as well. So, and Grealish involved again for another goal.
Yeah, he's in my fantasy team, but I stopped using it.
Yeah, I mean, all these midweek matches as well. I know they're all like they have to because the league started late and everything, but like it's so hard to keep track of as well. You know, what were we talking about? I was going to say something there, but I completely forget what I was going to say.
We were talking about. Which is what we were talking about. As I said, you were talking about passion.
Yeah, like I was going to say that McGoldrick goal. So I actually remember it. It's me mate Chris. I was with him. There's a couple of us there. Like we go all the time, but he's a lot bigger. He's like 6'2". I'm only 5'7". And I remember when McGoldrick scored, he just absolutely reefed me up in the air. And that happens every time we score. And I just, you miss the crack, like, you know, and being able to go out for a few points before and meet up with the other Ireland fans. And hopefully we get back to it one day because it's something to look forward to as well, you know.
I do enjoy when we get down to the Balls Bridge Hotel, have a few drinks down there.
Yeah, great area for a few beers.
Yeah, I do enjoy that. Just going to look at some of the comments. As a load came in there where we were talking about South America and stuff like that. Everyone seemed to everyone seems to have left because we were talking about South American football. I mean, we've only got 6 people now. We went from 24 to 6 over that time span. But anyway,
they'll come back. They'll come back.
We're back up to 8 now. But anyone who is there, we appreciate you. People are asking about goals. Where are Ireland going to score their goals? Stick a pair of boots on Keano today. He'd still be our best player, possibly.
Yeah. Just that poacher. Does he? Yeah, obviously means Robbie Keane. Yeah.
No, I think he means Roy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You see the way Roy even still talks about the game, like ruthless, and it's what a lot of teams miss nowadays. Even look at United. I know they're top of the league, but if they really want to get through I still don't think they're going to win it. If they really want to get through to the end and win the league, like they're probably missing a player like that to, you know, help them get through, you know, winning 1-0 away at Villa or something like that, some tough win, you know. Whereas you don't see the likes of Pogba, who'll probably take his foot off the gas in a game like that, you know. He's been great the last while, but look, that's the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just anybody who's actually watching, we're running a giveaway on the Ireland jersey. We're giving away a home and away one. You can pick whatever one you want. So all you have to do is go to our Instagram, follow Irish Football Fan TV, like the post, tag me, take a screenshot of your YouTube subscription, and then put it as a story and tag us. And that's it. You're into the draw, and it will be done tomorrow before our live stream. Where myself and Gary will be doing a live watch along for the Everton and Sheffield Wednesday game. So if you haven't, head over and check it out now. Just on Keano there, I have a funny story about Roy Keane. And just with that comment there by Charles Abraham, that picture is so freaky, man. Get a different picture. But basically, Stephen Elliott, who obviously played for Ireland, and Roy signed him for Sunderland, striker. He used to play with Drogheda and Hearts and a couple of other teams as well. Man City. He's at Man City with Glenn Whelan, actually. They were youngsters there. But anyway, he went on to speak about Roy Keane and obviously playing for Sunderland and stuff like that. And they were playing like a 5v5. But they're playing like a 5v5 for about 20 minutes. And there was like no goals whatsoever. And apparently like Roy Keane was hiding way off behind a tree. Like way off and watching the game, but he was behind a tree. I don't know why. So he's watching the game, 20 minutes gone by and nothing's happened. And then he comes he comes over and starts saying to like, what's this, going mental, like he does. And gets involved, and I think he scored a hat-trick in about 2 minutes. and he just threw his bib off, and he goes, "I knew I shouldn't have retired," and he just threw off the bib and walked off. He said that on Under the Cush, the podcast, Stephen. It's a really funny one, and he's got loads of funny stories about Roy Keane. So many people have so many funny stories about the one. The one of I don't know if you've seen it. It was up on TikTok. You know, Luke Steele. He used to play for Man United years ago. I think he was like a third choice keeper.
Yeah.
So he was on that as well, and he used to be terrified of Roy Keane when Roy played, because he was very young when he was coming in or whatever, and Roy Keane would be looking for the paper or something, and he'd be like to Luke Steele, are you finished with that? And he was clearly not finished with it. Like, he'd be trying to intimidate him to give him the paper, and he was like, yeah, no, I'm still reading it or whatever. And he said he used to like count to like 30 seconds, and then once the 30 seconds was up, he'd be like, oh yeah, I'm done. And he'd bring it over to him, because he knew he was just watching over and waiting for him to give him the paper. And then they linked up again years later when Roy and Martin O'Neill were coaching, managing, or assisting managing, whatever you want to call it, against or for Forest. So Luke Steele was a backup keeper, I think, again for Forest. And typical Roy Keane, there was a punishment for whatever drill they were doing, and they all had to do press-ups. So whoever didn't, he must have had an inkling that no one did the press-ups. So what he did is he got someone to go away and zoom in on the players while they were doing the press-ups from the next day or something. So they went back and watched it to see who did the press-ups. And he came to training, he had a notepad and he had a pen, and he had it written down of how many players had done their sit-ups. And he was like, Luke Steele, 20 complete. But then he was calling out other people who hadn't done their press-ups, it was, sorry, not sit-ups. And he was counting them all, and they all had to do double. And he had zoomed in on the cameras to find out and count how many each player did on their thing. So funny, man, so funny. When I heard that,
he's ruthless, all right. You can see that happen. It's just that stony face. Like, some people might think, oh, he's not being serious, but it's just there looking at you like you got to do it now when you're doing treble, whatever. Like, so definitely. The Under the Cosh podcasts are great. I gotta give them that. Like, I watched the Mark Bircham one recently. The fellow used to play for QPR, and he just had story after story about Ian Holloway. You know, when he was under Neil Warnock at the coach, when Neil Warnock was there when they came up, and he said these boys used to, like Armin Traore and all. He said one day he came in, and someone started on him, and then he went out to his car and came back and had a load of tear gas, and he was throwing it around. He was going mad. He was like, you remember that QPR team? They just had all these mad players like Julio Cesar and Ryan. Bosingwa. God, how did he was terrible. He won the Champions League.
Chris
Samba. He was a good player with Blackburn, all right. Remember him?
Yeah, and I was just mad that they got all these players. Richard Dunn was there as well at that time.
Yeah. Richard Dunn, Bobby Zamora, all these boys, you know, I mean, such a mix of Remy as well. Do you remember they made a big deal signing him? And then, I mean, he's don't know where I think he's back in France now. But
was he not at Palace last season on loan?
I think that was Batshuayi, was it not? I'm not sure.
Yeah, sorry. I think he went somewhere on loan, because I think I was playing FIFA or something. I think he popped up as one of the players there. Not really sure, but I think. Sorry, go on.
He got a great goal against Wigan one day. It was like before they got relegated, and
was that the side foot one?
Yeah, that he buried right in the unbelievable goal. I remember the commentator went 8 for it, like it was mad. And then Sean Maloney equalised late on as well. Sean Maloney, another good player too.
Yeah, he was good, especially with Celtic and Wigan. Under Martinez, they loved the kind of last 10 games of the season coming alive.
Yeah. Comment there from David. I was going to say that one.
Well, I read your mind, huh?
Good Paul, think alike.
This is it. I was at the Denmark game, brought my missus, who's never been to a soccer game in her life. She loved it. The atmosphere that night was amazing. Can't wait to see the boys agreeing again. Yeah, you would really miss. Like, I've obviously been to the Aviva since, you know, fans haven't been allowed in, and it's not nice. Like, it's great you get to see the team. It's not fair that fans can't be there in such a big stadium. It's huge. Like, I don't see how they couldn't have tried to fit. Like I know they have to follow protocols and stuff like that, but it's just it's heartbreaking. I think that's a real big thing that Stephen Kenny's been lacking, is not having fans at home games and away games. But
Yeah.
I think he's really suffered from that, and it's unfortunate. But just kind of you were obviously talking about Under the Cosh. There's some great episodes there. So if anyone who likes their podcasts or whatever, you can get them on YouTube. I watch them on YouTube because I prefer watching them. But I think you can get them on podcasts. Another good podcast as well is Football Daily on BBC. You'll get that one's really good. They usually have podcasts all week talking about all the latest football and stuff like that. Paul, have you any good podcasts? So you probably listen to a good few as well. I'm probably not listing off all the ones that I know right now.
Yeah, like the one that Simon Ferry does as well is quite good. Like especially if you're kind of out with Scottish football. Like sometimes you are, it's obviously Celtic Rangers, but you don't really hear about the rest of them. Like even today, I was seeing they were updating about Hibs and St Johnstone in that League Cup final. And then I remember that Jamie McGrath's playing in the semi-final tomorrow for St Mirren against Livingston. And that's great for clubs like that, and I think it's good for Scotland as well that other teams are going to win a competition, because it kind of needs it, because you compare some of the League of Ireland teams to some of those SPL teams and they give them one hell of a game. So it's good to see, and Jamie McGrath's doing great as well.
James Cabia obviously came off the bench there against Celtic the other night and got Scott Brown sent off. Done well coming off the bench. As soon as he came on, Livingston scored. They're playing each other, aren't they?
St Mirren and Livingston, yeah. I mean, it's two teams you wouldn't normally see in a semi-final as well, so that's good to see too.
Good luck to them. I actually, over the years of covering games with the League of Ireland, I know both of them, so best of luck to them both. Although Jamie McGrath follows me on Instagram, so I'm probably going to give him my vote, even though Jay's played obviously with Shells. But just purely for that reason and that reason only, nothing personal. But look, as long as both of them play, I'll be happy. But there's Conor McCarthy there as well, and isn't there someone else? I think there's someone else at St Mirren as well. The manager's Irish. But anyway, yeah, hopefully do well. Open Goal, that's called. And that's really good. And I think that's very funny. They have funny guests. Your man Slaney's gassed as well.
Yeah, they are. And I love when they have a whole half an hour on YouTube of everyone who's played and managed with Thomas Gravison, just having stories about him. He seemed like he was an absolute nutter. I don't think I'd be able to deal with him. Like I remember, was it Ferry was saying he was playing in a League Cup game with him one time in centre mid, and Gravison just kept going out to the left wing and asking him to switch it. And Ferry was saying, "Oh, I can't play in centre mid on my own. Will you come back in? Gravison's like, if you can't play centre midfield on your own, how are you going to play for Celtic and all this? Like, he's playing for Celtic anyway. Nutter.
I think that was on the wing.
Yeah,
I think he was playing fullback or something. Gravison was supposed to be on the wing in front of him, and he kept drifting over to the far side. So he's playing right wing and was over on the left wing, and he was just like, "You're not helping me defend here." I think it was was it not an Old Firm game? I think it was an Old Firm.
I don't think Ferry would have played many of them. I think it was just a League Cup game against Arbroath or something. Because Ferry, he was a good player, but then he wouldn't never got ahead of Neil Lennon and stuff and all.
I don't think it was him though. I think it was on his show, but I don't think it was Ferry who was the player. If that makes sense. I think it wasn't Aidan McGeady. I know he was talking about. I think it was. It might have been the man Slaney.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah, I can't remember. I just remember him talking about they have so many stories about him. You forget some of them.
Morning, Gordon.
That's brilliant. If you'd done that in a normal job, people would be looking at you like, "Oh, what's this fella doing?" No.
Well, didn't he just settled to play in the reserves at Celtic after being really good at Everton? He got his move to Real Madrid. It didn't really work out for him at Real Madrid. He tried to, strangle Robinho, and then he moved to Celtic, and then after a while he didn't get on well with Gordon Strachan, and then. So they apparently, Cy Ferry was saying that they'd all say morning Gaffer or whatever. Everyone would call him Gaffer, no one would call him Gordon. And then Gravison has a kind of a Scouse twang. And he'd be there, "Morning, Gordon," and then he'd be after every word he'd be like, "No, lad, you can't do that, lad." And he had like a Scouse Danish accent, and yeah, he was just stone mad, and he was happy then to just play with the reserves, and he bought his own pool cue, and he went to the shop. Apparently he's playing pool, and I think he got beat, and he went out that day, bought a pool cue, came back the next day, so he'd bring the pool cue from his car into the place to play with the reserves, and then he'd play all the games with the reserves and stuff like that, and he wasn't even bothered about kind of playing for Celtic itself. He just kind of seemed happy. I don't think he was getting into the team anyway, because when he was told to do something, he didn't do it. Like in terms of on the pitch, he would never do what he was told. He'd always kind of like do the opposite. It was the same with David Moyes. So I don't know, because they used to say he just used to get attracted to the ball and he'd just run for it and stuff like that. But I just thought some of the stuff was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, and there's another one with they have the stories about Di Canio as well at Swindon, and like it's like you said, I think Ferry described it as every day there was a disaster. Every day, like I mean, I can see it as well. Di Canio was just. I remember him at Swindon, and he'd be on the line and he'd be going mad, and his wrists would be going 90 all the time as well. And he'd be smashing stuff, and he'd be fighting with players in front of the cameras and all. Like didn't care.
Did you hear the story of the Canio and the keeper had to hide down the back of the bus?
Yeah, that's a great one. League One Wes Fotheringham. League One Wes.
Oh, and what did he call him? A something keeper, a Sabuto keeper. How are we going to win the league with a Sabuto keeper?
Imagine. I don't know how your man. Like I know they lost the head of each other, but I mean, Fotheringham played for them for a while after that as well. I mean, I think a lot of people would have thrown the head there. Obviously, Canio is just a lure, just a lure.
League One Wes.
League One Wes.
He's so funny, Di Canio. Like he's gas, proper funny, and like he doesn't mean it, he's just pure anger and passion. Like he is another one he's like Roy Keane in terms of he's just passionate. But so didn't he take him off in a game early, and then he was fuming about it and raging about it, and then I think he went off to the after-match interview and was going mad, going to town on him, and he was like going mad. Wes was like lying on the floor, going mad about it, watching the thing, and he was then hiding down the back of the bus, and every time Canio was looking behind to see was he on the bus, he was hiding and something like that. So funny.
Yeah. Gas.
Sorry, go on.
I see a comment there from Michael Murney saying West Ham are going to win the FA Cup. I mean, you know, it's a year for it. I mean, the likes of West, like I think clubs like that should always be looking to win that, you know. So why not?
League One Wes.
League One.
Look, I like David Moyes. Obviously, I'm an Everton fan, and I think that what Moyes did with Everton was really, really good. By right, he was moving on to a bigger club at the time, in Manchester United, who had the resources that they did, obviously after Sir Alex Ferguson left. But what he did for Everton, I thought, you know, he'd earned the right to then go to Manchester United and have a crack at the whip. Now, it didn't work out well for him, clearly, and a couple of jobs after that. But I thought when he went to West Ham the first time, I thought he made them stable. You know, there were fans were like turning around in the middle of the game, pointing up towards the press box to where their owners were and all, giving the club stick and stuff like that. But I thought, like, no one really turned on Moyes. He was kind of working with what he had. But I think what Moyes does really well is he organises teams. He gets their shape really, you know, he works really, really hard on their shape. And from what Tim Cahill and Ian Osman used to say, like, if they conceded a goal from, say, a set play or something, he would practice that same set play till they got it right. And it showed at Everton. I think it's shown a lot at West Ham as well. And even with the set plays in terms of the goals and stuff like that. So West Ham are having a good season. But they never really had bad players. They just didn't have a manager that knew what they were kind of doing. I think Moyes has been allowed to mould the players into the type of players that he wanted this season. And I think he'll, if you give him the right amount of money, I think he will do well. I think he was only a Lukaku away from Everton finishing in the top four. You know, he had everything else built. He just didn't have the money to go out and get a really good striker at the time. He got decent strikers, Yakubu and Andy Johnson, James Beattie and a couple of others, but they never really made that step up. Louis Saha as well. they never really made the step up. And I think at Everton he just lacked that striker. Very good manager, and we used to beat a lot of the top teams, albeit not away from home, but at home we used to beat a lot of teams. Chelsea, Arsenal, United, City, Liverpool as well. So there was teams there he used to beat, and he was good in that sense. And I think he's transferred that now because he's been allowed to have time at West Ham, and now he's kind of shown that he is still a good manager. He just wasn't, like at Sunderland, it was a poison chalice and they were destined to go down anyway. I don't think anybody was really saving them. That was after Allardyce had left, I think, left that time. I think Moyes then came in, but it was a sinking ship anyway. I think you've seen that in the documentary anyway. So it's good to see him doing well. If he wins the FA Cup, fair play to him, but I don't really care, to be honest with you. Actually, no, I don't want him to win the FA Cup because Darren Randolph is a reserve for them and that Snake plays in midfield for them. So I don't want to see that.
You want Everton to win the FA Cup because you're still in it.
I know that, but I just said I don't care if they win it, but I do care because I don't want him to win it.
Yeah.
Because he's a snake. But there's a funny comment there from David Salter. Did you ever hear that story of Kamara in the lift with Roy Keane?
I seen it on YouTube. I didn't watch it, but I know what video he's talking about. I'll definitely look at it later.
But yeah, it's not a video. It's a sound clip.
Sound clip. Yeah, I've seen it on YouTube though. Like, is what I mean. I never clicked into it, so I didn't know if it was a video or a sound clip or not.
Well, I'm gonna tell you.
What?
I'm gonna tell you what it is.
All right, go on. Yeah, go.
Because there's people online that probably want to know. So basically, Chris Kamara was in the lift with some hotel or something, and Roy Keane was manager of Sunderland at the time, and there was someone in the lift who pushes the buttons, so you're going up or down or whatever floor, and Roy Keane got in the lift, and then she just goes going down, and then Chris Kamara just turned around and he went, well, I think she's talking to you, and he just burst out laughing. But apparently, Roy Keane would have smashed anyone else, but apparently he got like the slightest smirk out of Roy Keane. You can imagine saying that to him at the time when Sunderland were doing woeful. And he said, I think he's talking to you, Roy. I think she's talking to you, Roy. And he was not a happy boy. But I think he laughed it off because it was Kamara. But I thought that was hilarious. It's the way he says it. Like the way I said it probably sounds shit, but the way he says it is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. I know, it sounds like a good one. Sure, that's something that I was getting a couple of weeks ago when Arsenal were doing terrible. Like, you just got to laugh it off, really, don't you? Even if you are manager of that club, you just got to laugh it off.
Oh, but they were going down.
Ah, true, yeah. Yeah, they were very bad. Was that just before you got sacked with Sunderland, was it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I think they stayed up in the end when they sacked them. Like, last day. Because they were in the league from 2007 to 2017. They didn't go down. They were always struggling, but they didn't go down.
Maybe I don't know who came in after him. Was it Mick?
It was you remember your man Ricky
Shimika?
Yeah, him. Whatever his name is.
Spragia. No, you're right. No, you're Ricky Spragia.
Yeah.
That's the one.
And then they got Steve Bruce was the year after that. I think. Yeah, it was. Yeah, he came in. He brought Darren Benton all in and the likes and the beach ball goal and all that stuff, whatever.
That was great.
Yeah, that was very funny. And it was their own bloody fan who threw it on the thing as well. Oh, gas.
You'd be raging if you're that fan, but I'm delighted for him.
Sure, he has to look at that every couple of months, He definitely does.
Yeah, it's probably his claim to fame, though, to be honest. But anyway, my dad was actually over that game. I remember Everton beat Sunderland 7-1 or something, and Roy was the manager then. I wouldn't have liked to have been in the dressing room when that was happening. Apparently, he used to stay behind in the changing room with the team, and he would go one by one to every player and just absolutely fume with them. And then he would Douglas Luiz just pulled one wide there. But he then, if you made eye contact with him, it used to be so much worse. Players used to be terrified of making eye contact with him because he would just go to absolute town. That's probably why he can't get a job as a manager at the moment, because he's just so fierce and angry all the time when it's football related. Like,
Yeah, and I think with players nowadays as well, you got to deal with them in different ways. It can't all be, go mad at them, be fierce like he is. You got to be able to be a certain way. Like if you have to put your arm around one of them and say, "Oh, come on, let's get going again," you got to do it. And I think that's where, some of the managers succeed now as well, whereas some of the older ones might not.
Well, it's a new wave of people. Like
Exactly.
I don't know. I would class myself as in between, so I kind of know the older people are like and the newer ones because I've kind of seen 90s football and so on. I grew up at the kind of tail end of the 90s, 98, 99, 99, 2000s, and that's when I was really into football. But I was only 7 or 8 around then. So you probably are in more of the newer era. So all these players who are mad prima donnas and stuff like that, like they don't have to clean players' boots or anything like that. So that's why, Roy Keane we grew up on that type of thing, and a lot of managers now have to be like psychologists and stuff like that and treat everyone really nicely and be man managers. So having to know, like Ferguson was great at it, even with the newer generation and stuff like that, Ronaldo, and so on. He would go mad at Rooney to get a message across to Nani and stuff like that. It's just genius management and leadership, which not obviously that's why being a manager is so hard. I'd imagine like the stress and everything like that. I would hate to be a Premier League manager. I'd say the constraints are absolutely horrendous, especially if you're lower. Like if you're anywhere between 10 to 20, I'd say it's a disaster as well, because your job's always up for grabs. At least with the bigger teams, you could probably lose 5 games before you're under mad serious pressure. With the smaller teams, you lose 2 or 3 and all of a sudden you're gone, and it might not even be your fault. You might be missing a couple of players through injury or something like that, and then the momentum. But just with Roy Keane, I don't think he has the skills for dealing with the kind of snowflakes, would you call them, or just in general players who need an arm around the shoulder, as you said. I don't know if he has it. People can tell us in the comments, or you can let me know. Daza doesn't think so anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't think he does, because he's just part of that generation. Like you said with me, like I kind of came into football like 2005, 2006, like around 2006 World Cup, and it was still kind of like half and half then as well. You had like Sam Allardyce was still at Bolton, and you look at that Bolton team, they had the likes of Kevin Davis, Kevin Nolan, strong players. Gary Speed was still playing.
Baller.
Yeah, what a player. So sad about him in the end, but even for that one season, he was great. And they had Nicholas and Nelka, the likes of them. You still had a lot of tough players playing. Like, I remember Ben Thatcher from Man City. He was a left forward. He was one tough. I remember he nearly killed Pedro Mendes. Yeah. Was he right foot? I don't know. I just remember. I remember that it was when Man City were a proper club, and I remember he nearly killed Pedro Mendes one day for Portsmouth. Like proper, like ran in and just elbowed him straight outside the line. Nearly killed him. Unreal. Some of the lads that used to play. I remember Charlton were still in the league at the time as well, and
they were class.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, it was the year they got relegated. Was when I started liking it. I remember it was when Kirbishley left and they just kind of collapsed.
Yeah, but they had good Irish players, Charlton. They had Matt Holland, they had Andy Reid, Mark Kinsella. I think Mark Kinsella done so well with Matt Holland at the World Cup that I think he was telling the manager, Kirbishley probably was at the time, to sign Matt Holland. So I think that goes to show. Andy Reid then obviously signed with them as well, and there's probably Darren Randolph that season you're talking about. He would have played the last game of the season against Liverpool, I think it was, because they were going down, and he made his debut, I think, against Liverpool, because he was telling me about making a save against Xabi Alonso as his first call of action. I think as his first very good save, so he recalls that.
Not a bad way to start.
Well, that would have been around when the time you were talking, I think.
Yeah, oh no, definitely, it definitely was. Xabi Alonso, some players, by the way.
Sicko, yeah, he was brilliant.
I mean, I don't know. Like as I said, it was kind of coming towards the end of that era then, and it was going into the one we're in now as well. But look, that's the way it goes. You know, that's just the game. It changes all the time.
Yeah. I think it's funny though.
Yeah. Oh, it is like even with Keane at the time, like maybe when he came in with Sunderland, you know, he's done great. They were down near the bottom half of the table, and they ended up winning that the championship that year, and then goes into the Premier League. You know, you got to bring in different types of players, and it doesn't work and whatever. You know, so I know they stayed up the first year when he was the manager, but then obviously he got sacked the year after as well, and you know, it's hard to get things right, especially at a club like that.
He tried to sign Leighton Baines, you know, and Leighton Baines told him no, he wanted to sign for Everton, and he didn't kick up a fuss. He basically said, yeah, that's no problem or whatever, because he respected Baines, I think, for just telling him straight up. Did you ever hear about you obviously watched the Off the Ball team where he spoke about Matt Taylor?
Matt Taylor, who was talking about that? Oh, yeah. Where he's saying he was going to sign for him and then he didn't.
Yeah, and he left the training ground, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, I remember that. There was one about Robbie Savage I heard as well, where he was going to sign Robbie Savage and he heard his voicemail, and it was like some weird voicemail. It was like to the tune.
What's up? He did that.
Yeah. And then he was like, I'm not signing him, and then Savage went to Derby.
And that was before they had the worst record, and it wasn't as bad as Sheffield United's. But
Sheffield United will get better than that. They definitely will. I hope they do anyway, because they don't deserve to have that record. They're definitely not as bad as that Derby team.
They're not shit, like.
Yeah, no, they're a good team, Sheffield United. Like, it's just not working for them. It's just unlucky a lot of the time as well.
Yeah, you got to feel for them, because obviously with the three Irish lads there, and they're definitely going down, but it's just a matter of what points can they gather up between now and the end of the season. And you'd like to think that, look, if they went on an unbelievable run and stayed up, but I think even Roy Keane said the last day they need Champions League form to finish the season off to stay up. So it's a hard ask. I just don't think they have the resources. If they sign some player in January that's going to come in and change their fortunes in front of goal, then that could be brilliant for them. But I just don't see it. Like, they needed someone like a Charles Nzogby or something inspiring, someone like that, who inspired Wigan obviously to stay up then that time, and Hugo Rodallega.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough for them, and they've been doing well in the cup as well. They're in the 5th round now. They won again today. I know they've had 2 League One teams in the cup, but I mean, you can only beat what's put in front of you, especially in an open draw. And I mean, that's probably helped their form as well, because they did beat Newcastle as well. And that's 3 wins in the last couple of games, which didn't have any wins before that. So they can get that. They can get going in the next couple of weeks. Like, I know they're playing United during the week, and then they're playing City next week. So I wouldn't say they're going to get any points from those two unless there's a miracle. Hopefully they can, because I mean, sick of looking at United winning, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing United win, because obviously it kind of put Liverpool on the back burner a little bit, but especially after last season when just nobody could beat them, it's nice to see them getting beaten every now and again. But Jack Grealish here is running the show in this game. Do you know who I actually like though? He just won the ball for them there. Konsa, he looks like a really good centre back. Number 4 for Villa. I think he'll leave Villa next season for a bigger team. Yeah,
definitely. He's looked well. Even like I remember their first game of the season, he got the winner, and he's been good ever since. Villa have had a good season. I mean, they should be a lot higher than they are, and that they brought in some really good players, and that's why Conor Hourihane had to move out. Unfortunately, it's only hopefully he get back in. It's only a loan move, is it, or is he gone Swansea permanently?
It's loans at the end of the season.
I mean, at least you get game time there, definitely, because of the amount of games they have. But yeah, I mean, you've got Barkley. You know yourself, when Barkley's on form, he's a top player. Douglas Luiz he's always in that midfield, and the lads up front are scoring the goals, and you're not going to get ahead of Grealish either. So that's just the way.
Yeah, I think with Villa, they've assembled a really good side this year, and You know, they were lucky to stay up. I said this, I think it was last week, you might have been on with me, and I was saying how, you know, if that goal against Sheffield United was given, they might not be in the league. And another thing, the keeper, Martinez, and you would have known from being an Arsenal fan, I think he's come in and he's been really, really good for them. He's been brilliant.
Yeah, like I'm not saying it's the same impact, but you look at the difference when Alisson came in for Liverpool and they went up a notch. Villa have gone up a notch because they've just got a solid goalkeeper now that they can rely on. Personally, I think Arsenal should have kept him. I think he's better than Leno as well. Leno's a good shot stopper, but there'd just be some mistakes out of him that you just question sometimes. And I mean, if you're fourth, fifth choice for Germany, you're obviously not that good a goalkeeper. So, you know, that's the way. Yeah, I thought Arsenal should have kept him. I mean, I don't see any reason why they let him. Now they brought Matt Ryan in because the other fella they brought in from Nice, Gunnarsson or Runnerson, whatever his name is, isn't good enough. And so Leno needs backup, but they obviously brought him in with the hope of going through to the next round of the Cup. You got Europa League coming up as well. I mean, that's one competition gone now too, so I don't see Matt Ryan getting much game time anyway.
Is that the Aussie keeper that played for Brighton?
Yeah, he's gone on loan to us, yeah.
On loan?
Yeah, he wasn't playing for Brighton. They had some other goalkeeper in.
That's
I don't know
crazy.
who he is.
Yeah,
I know.
really good for them.
Yeah, he's a good goalkeeper. He's been there since they came up as well, so it makes no sense to me. Starts international all the time as well. I don't know. Potter probably fancy him.
But he's a weird manager, and he doesn't like anyone.
No, he doesn't. I'm sure he was
they
in
run
Sweden
all
for a
day.
couple of years. That's why.
What's that?
He was in Sweden for a couple of years. That's why. It's just different world. Different world.
Yeah, he's COVID. Yeah, he annoys me. He's real monotone. He just doesn't seem like he has much personality about him. He's just like, oh yeah, everything's great. Oh yeah. You just don't get much out of him. But what was I gonna say? There's a comment there I was reading. Yeah, look.
It's
right.
like I agree, but like
Change that profile picture, Charles Abraham.
it's he's a good backup goalkeeper, but again, it doesn't make much sense for Arsenal to get rid of a bit of the wage, like with Ozil going out, Socrates going out, Kolasinac going out on loan, and then you're gonna have to pay half of this goalkeeper's wages in the end, you know, which doesn't make sense to me. Seems like a bit of a waste.
Yeah, no, I'm just laughing.
Yeah, you're laughing at yeah. He knows himself. But yeah, I don't know what to make of it. And you think of like Williams getting how much money to do absolutely nothing. Some club, I tell you.
He says, lovely profile pic, isn't it? It's just weird. I don't even know who it is, but it just looks like a mad murderer or something. Or yeah. Anyway, the less said, the better. But anyway, I am. It's definitely not a picture of you. Anyway, well, I hope. Yeah, this game is 2-0 to Aston Villa right now, and it's in the 60th minute, so half an hour to go. Two things we got to talk about. One is Conor Howard on his loan to Swansea. He played today. I'll whip up his stats from today. And the other thing that we have to talk about is Mick McCarthy's back in management. Maybe we'll talk about Mick being back in management first. But Mick was given the job till the end of the season for Cardiff. Now, he was second choice to Paul Cook from Wigan. He was offered the job. It seems as though it's only going to be a short-term fix unless Mick does something miraculous. Good to see him back. Obviously, he lasted 9 games at Apoel. They chop and change managers like night and day. So he's straight back into management. If he does a good job there at Cardiff, obviously it repairs his reputation. Not that it was tainted that much anyway, but it's good to see him back in management. I like Mick, and I see a lot of Irish fans giving him a stick. It's weird that he was the one giving Stephen Kenny abuse. He wasn't. I listened to him on a podcast there recently for Paddy Power, and he was nothing but praise for Stephen. But he was saying that he has a tough job on his hands. But it didn't come across bitter or anything at all. He just said, I had an agreement with the FAI. COVID happened, and now I'm managing club football. So fair play to him. But what are your thoughts on Mick being back in management?
It's good for him. I mean, I think, as you mentioned with Apoel, they change all the time and just didn't work out there. think with Cardiff, they've struggled a bit. Neil Harris is obviously their manager there. He's gone off now. I mean, he knows what to do in that division. Cardiff obviously think they're maybe under threat by relegation. I never thought they were. But yeah, I mean, I think he'll come in and do a good job. He knows the league. He's been promoted out of it several times. He'll come in and do a good job. He does a good job everywhere he goes. So, I mean, it's a move for him. And I mean, that's all you want. I mean, like, he's a good manager. He knows the league. That's what Cardiff wants. They want to stay up. They want to stay financially sound, not have to lose a bit of money going down to League One. So that's obviously the idea. Stay up.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it all goes well from. I just feel like he just, no matter what he does, people call him the Irish Sam Allardyce and stuff like that. I just feel like the football he played for Ireland wasn't that bad. He worked with the players that he had, and he found, I feel anyway, the best way to line up against other teams was the way he did. Maybe not against Georgia, I appreciate that, but in other games against the likes of Switzerland and Denmark, I think he had the right approach. I don't necessarily agree with having to be a goal down and then attack teams, but when we had to go for it, we always seem to get a goal. Now whenever we go for it, we just can't score at all, you know.
Yeah, it's just the way it is, and like, I think that when you mentioned as well, like, him going out, like, he had the agreement with the FAI. He was only going to be there for this campaign, and that's it. Kenny was always going to come in. That's the way. Like, there's no point in criticising him for that, saying he was slated. I've never heard him say a bad word about Kenny. So, and you said he backed it up as well. He's got a tough job, but I think anyone would have a tough job in that role at the minute, especially without the fans and so on.
Yeah, as I said, I like Mick. He's a good man in terms of like away from football and stuff like that. He's a good man. Always says nice things about us and the channel and stuff like that. So I've nothing but good things to say about Mick. And there is people out there who just have it in for him anyway, no matter what he does. So, you know, let them. Haters gonna hate, as they say.
Exactly. You got to look at before this as well. He played for us at tournaments as a defender. He managed us to the 2002 World Cup, where we could have done better. Obviously, there was the
captain as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's got to be said. Like, he's done a lot for Ireland, and I think that's just the Irish fan base at the minute. It's like just Irish people at the minute. It's like they just want to be critical a lot of the time, and that's just the way. That's unfortunate, but that's just the way.
Begrudgery Ireland.
Exactly.
But just on Howard, he played 66 minutes today. He had 42 touches. He had 21 accurate passes with a 77.8% pass accuracy. And he had 2 dribble attempts. He won 3 ground duels. And he made 1 tackle. So he lasted 66 minutes on his debut, which is good because he hasn't been playing, obviously, so he wouldn't be up to 100% match fit. It was good that he played. They won 5-1. Ryan Manning got an assist as well.
Yeah, that's good going. I mean, that was in the cup as well against Forest, was it? Yeah, that's a good win for them. And I mean, Swansea have had a good season. Why can't they go on a cup run as well? You know, they're in the 5th round now. A couple of years ago, they got to the quarterfinals with Dan James still playing for them as well. Remember, he got a great goal against Brentford, and then he scored against Man City as well, I think, or he played well against Man City or something. They were unlucky to go out. So, I mean, they've got a good cup pedigree. They won the League Cup in 2013. They always play good football as well. So, hopefully it goes well for them. They keep challenging up at the top and go forward in the cup as well.
Well, I think the ideal scenario would be for Swansea to get promoted, and then we have, say, Howrahan and Manning both in the Premier League next season. Well, I know he's only on loan for, but you imagine that. I think the loan was with an option to buy. Yeah. So if they had Howrahan then playing for the next season, that could be good because you could be playing Premier League football. But he'd have more of a chance playing regularly with Swansea than he would with Villa, say, for example.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at Villa, if they keep playing how they are, they might get into Europe, and then they're going to bring in even more players in that position as well, so he might fall further down the pecking order. And obviously, if you qualify for Europe, you attract the better players as well, so that's just the way. With Swansea, I mean, it could be a good thing. He came up with Villa a few years ago and played a lot of games for them last season as well, was very important for them in the run-in, and he'll do the same with Swansea. Be good for Swansea as well, an experienced Premier League player if they did sign him already in their ranks, if they did come up.
Yeah, well, it's all ifs and buts right now, but yeah, as you say, it would be a good move for him, and I think it'd be a good move for the club. It's a win-win for everyone, really. I think no matter what, Villa will still have money. They'll probably buy Ross Barkley's just popped up on screen for me there after missing that chance. They'll probably try to buy him, which would make sense for them to try and buy him. I think he's had a good season for them. I know he's injured for a while there a few weeks ago, but he just seems to be really good in this Villa team. I know he hasn't really got going at Chelsea and stuff like that, but that's just because they've just got better players in those positions than him, or the manager just sees them as better players. But I think I was kind of sad when he left Everton, and for the price, I think he ended up going for free, didn't he? Where he could have went in that January for 30 million. So fans don't like Ross Barkley for that, but as a player, thought we really missed him in terms of driving us forward up the pitch. And I spoke about Jason Malumbi, how he does that for, say, Preston now, and how he would do it for Ireland as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing if he can get a run of games. It's just nice to have our midfielders. You know, you've got I know Hendrick's playing tonight, so you've got Howard, Hendrick, Malumbi, you have Josh Cullen, you have James McCarthy played last week against City as well. So you have all these players playing. It's going to matter more close to March time, and no matter what, players always seem to pick up injuries just before the international break or on that weekend, which is a nightmare. So it's good to see all our midfielders back playing. And then, as I say, it's the 23rd of January today, so it's a couple of months away still. But we hope that they start having good run of games, and they're match fit and they're sharp. And then when we go to Serbia, we have a selection, or Stephen has a selection in which he can have the pool of players in which he thinks is the best players that can play for Ireland against Serbia, and hopefully get the results that we need. But I think someone like Malumbi and Knight, and Knight was one I forgot there. There's just a lot of players there with places up for grabs, and I think there's in that midfield area especially. I think all three positions are up for grabs really if you look at it. You know, if he's playing a 4-3-3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of formations he could play as well. He might try and accommodate the wing backs as well, and then that changes the midfield up too. I think personally he should accommodate the wing backs. I think we play better in that formation as well. Yeah. And then you could put Darragh O'Shea, John Egan and Shane Duffy in centre half. You could throw Coleman in there as well. I think he'd do a great job in that position now that he's slowed down a little bit as well. And I think we're better when he plays. I think the three lads in the midfield, I think you'd need Malumbi in that midfield three because he'll work a bit harder, whereas you look at Howrahan, he's kind of more of a sitting and he passes the ball around and he takes the free kicks. He does get a few goals, but I think Malumbi would fit into that formation very well too. And look, I mean, still 2 months away, you don't know what the story is, but one thing we do need is we need to get a result out in Serbia if we want to be looking at qualifying or getting close to qualifying and going into the playoffs anyway, because they're going to be our direct rivals.
I think a loss straight away would be a disaster. It wouldn't diminish our hopes, I think, straight away, but it would just be an uphill struggle from there if we were to lose. So I think a draw or a win is a massive result for us. And then I think someone said in the comments there, Luxembourg fancied themselves over us. Daza says it there.
Yeah. I mean, you look at those two teams that we've been drawn in with. A lot of people would think, Azerbaijan, Luxembourg. It's not they're not like San Marino, Gibraltar. They're not going to be walked all over. These teams
struggled against Gibraltar.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know Gibraltar played well against us, but you know what I mean? It's okay, we might only win 1 or 2-0, but we're still more than likely going to win, you know? Whereas with Luxembourg and Azerbaijan, it's going to be tough away from home. And it's going to be like Georgia, in my opinion. We always struggle away from home there. So we have to be looking to get those results, get something out in Serbia as well. Because if we don't get something out in Serbia, we'll have to beat Serbia and Portugal at home to probably get ahead of one of them. Do you know what I mean? And you don't want to be going in looking for that, which is the awkward situation.
I don't think we'll be topping the group, though.
Look, if we top the group, I'd be shocked. Because the way Portugal are playing at the minute, they're just a really good side. They've got young players coming through. They've still got Ronaldo, who's just there's not much more you can say on Ronaldo. He's unbelievable. So Yeah, I mean, I'd be shocked. Serbia, I mean, I don't think there's anything really to fear there. They're a good side, but like you got to be looking to get something out there as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's as well. Like with Luxembourg, we cannot afford a slip up there. We need to win. We need everybody on it, and we need to get the goals to win that game. And we should, in reality, we should. Will we? Will we though is a different matter, but we should. And I think that could be. I think that could be the game that Stephen wins as his first win as Ireland manager, the Luxembourg game. But if he doesn't get results against Serbia, he'll be under massive pressure against Luxembourg, and if it doesn't go right against Luxembourg, they may look. Well, I don't know. I'm just speculating, but they might not last that long. He might be out of the job, considering it would be 10 games without a win. I'm pretty sure it's been 8 now. He had the 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the situation we don't want. Obviously, being so involved in the League of Ireland ourselves, we want to see him do well. He's a good manager, but it's been tough for him. And I mean, yeah, like there are 2 games you have to win home and away. That's what let us down in the last qualifying campaign. We didn't win in Georgia, and Switzerland did, and that's why they went through. Denmark obviously drew with them as well, but Denmark, I mean, they got results when they had 10. They had a better goal difference. We just didn't score enough goals, and didn't take opportunities when we should have. So, look, it's going to be like the Georgia game, those 2 games away from home. We need to get results there, though. Like, it has to be said, have to go for it. And look, that's it. And Serbia, obviously, home and away is going to be crucial. We don't want to lose away, and we have to try beat them at home. Like, obviously, we're not talking about Portugal. Hopefully, we have a similar to, the Holland game, Germany as well at home, where we've beaten these teams. And that'll get the fans going, and that'd be great for Stephen Kenny. Be unbelievable. They're the European champions at the minute as well, and probably won't be at the time. Obviously, but they're one of the last European champions, so it'd be a great result. But yeah, it's tough to call. You don't know. You don't even know what the squad's going to be at the minute with the amount going on, the amount of injuries, COVID, etc. So it's tough. It's tough to call.
I don't even know if there's going to be fans there, but I did see something about Neffet saying something about having fans back at the Aviva soon. I think there was going to be some sort of announcement next week.
Yeah, well, I see what they're thinking about is like in March, didn't UEFA say there needed to be a decision on whether you wanted to host games at the European Championship, and obviously we're down to host 4. So obviously they'll be looking at March as internationals as trying to get some people back in as a trial run for June. So like that's obviously the idea. So and I think we have to start doing these things as well, because we're never gonna obviously we have a vaccine at the minute, but we're never going to be fully immune if we don't start mingling at some point this year. Not in massive crowds, but with tiny crowds, like what they were doing in England, 2,000, 4,000, half the capacity, whatever. So that's it has to be done, and obviously we're all buzzing to get back as well, so it has to be done.
Yeah, no, and I hope that the fans can go, because I think it will be over a year since, or it will be longer.
Yeah, no. November 2019.
Denmark, yeah.
Yeah, Denmark, and there was New Zealand as well the week before that. Like, I actually like going to the friendlies. Like, we normally get a result and we get a few goals as well, so I enjoy them. But some of my mates won't go to the friendlies, so I bring a couple of other pals who aren't really into football. They'll go along with me, and they love it. Like, I mean, I tell them, look, this atmosphere is great. Even with a friendly, I know it's normally half capacity, but at least there's still a good atmosphere. There's a bit of crack. Ballsbridge is a good area, as we've mentioned already, and
go for a point, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we need that. We need more people getting behind the team as well, not just for the big games selling out TV, but we want to be having 45,000 plus full capacity for games against Luxembourg and Azerbaijan to get us over the line as well.
Yeah, but I think it's a tough sell. Like, do you remember the game when we played USA? That was one of the worst games I've ever watched. We won with Alan George's late goal, but it was horrendous to watch. And then we had, there was a couple of other friendlies that were horrendous. It was the 0-0 against Northern Ireland, and they should have beaten us like 3-0. Yeah. And there was another friendly, I'm pretty sure, around that time as well. But when Mick came in, the friendlies were enjoyable, I will say. I think the Bulgaria game, we battered them, played well. A lot of players made their debut that night. Jack Burr, James Collins, and Josh Cullen, and a couple of others. the keeper, Travers. And
Yeah.
I think O'Hara as well played the friendly, or sorry, not the friendly, the first half or the second half. So all of them made their debuts. It was a 3-0 win, and everybody was happy. I'm pretty sure John Egan captained the team that night.
Yeah.
So there was lots of positives. It was really good. Then there was the New Zealand one, and I'm pretty sure there was one in between that as well. But the New Zealand one, Troy Parrott, Leo Connor, Jack Byrne, all playing. Get the result. Callum Robinson getting his first Ireland goal. There was loads of stuff to be positive about. But then the friendlies, didn't we not have a friendly? We had a friendly during the Nations League games, I'm pretty sure, no? England?
England away. I think all of them were away, were they not?
Trying to think.
I don't think so. I think England was the only one.
Okay, and the rest were all Nations League then.
Yeah, we're gonna have Qatar as well in this upcoming thing as well. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just good to get games as well, you know. So that's the thing. That'll be important as well, because if we do qualify, then they're going to be hosts. We could get drawn in the group against them, and it'd be good to see what they're actually like, because obviously not many people would have seen Qatar before. So
Yeah. People in the comments have just asked us, do we like UFC? And then someone said, come on, McGregor, do you just talk about football? No, we are open to talking about whatever you guys want. You just need to pop them in the comments, make it interesting. It's just the same stuff, though. A lot of people just going, oh, do you think Troy Parrott should start for Ireland? It's like, clearly not. He's just not playing right now. Like, if he asks something sensible, we'll talk about it as well.
yeah, obviously I think tonight everyone's going to be behind McGregor, but you know, I mean, he is coming back. He should win. That's what I think anyway. Like, I wouldn't know much about UFC, but he should win, really. He's beaten him before as well, so why not?
Yeah, I think he should win. I think he will win, but I just don't think I'm going to stay up to watch it. I think I'll buy it, I'll record it, and I'll watch it in the morning, and I'll just turn my phone on airplane mode, and then I won't know the result, and I can just get up and go about. I can get up and have it on in the morning, say about 11. Put the eggs on, I'll put the coffee on, I'll sit there, chill out. I might even put my dressing gown on, and I'll chill out there, throw my slippers on as well, and I'll chill out and I'll watch it, because tomorrow, I'm just gonna relax all day, watch all the football.
Yeah.
And I've started off by watching the UFC. That's what I think I'll do, because it's 20 to 10, and I still haven't got a text off anyone saying that they're watching it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's just with COVID and all, I'd say people just aren't up for it, you know. I mean, that's just the way, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's disappointing, because even I know with my mates that we usually, one of us will pay for it, and then we'll all chip in, and then we'll go down.
They buy you a drink or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Have a few cans, and it's an enjoyable night, obviously, and that's what you do miss at the minute as well. With along with going to the football matches as well, just having a bit of crack, socialising, like, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why we do this.
Exactly, yeah, it's good and it's great. Like, I've done one with Jer during the week. I hadn't seen Jer since we done the League of Ireland team this season. It's good to see him, and we have a chat. We're chatting about Liverpool, chatting about the League of Ireland start dates as well. Obviously, they've been announced now as well. What did we think about, you know, the teams he supported? Obviously, he's Pat, so I'm Shelburne. And so it's good. It's good to see people, and it's good that we actually have this to be able to watch the games and then chat about them as well. And it's probably one thing that makes this lockdown a little bit easier than the first one.
Yeah, and then, you know, the fact that there's UFC constantly on throughout is very good as well. I would watch it a lot, and I do enjoy having it on a Saturday night there, and you can just chill out, relax, and watch the game, or watch the fight. Sorry, there's been loads of brilliant ones as well, especially during the lockdown and stuff like that. There's been loads of surprises and all that type of stuff. It's a fierce sport. I wouldn't like to be involved in it in terms of some of the training, the hidings you get, stuff like that. Just I do enjoy watching it, but I wouldn't like to be getting punched in the face for a living. So I hope they're getting paid very, very well to do it, because having friends who are boxers and stuff like that, and I know a few people that do MMA. It's a tough life. It's a tough sport, and it's a tough living to make. You know, you have to be made of grit basically to do it.
Serious commitment, all right. It's actually a good comment in there. Simon Campbell said, "Away to Portugal in September be a great trip. That'd be some trip, all right. Like even if you weren't going to the game, just go away. Like if we could all go, be thousands of Irish over there. I'd say. Me and my mates are actually talking about it. If we could,
The Algarve summer holiday.
even if you, yeah, exactly. Like I was in Portugal a couple of years ago. It's great, unbelievable. What a spot.
I was there when I was a kid. I went to the Algarve twice. It wasn't long after Madeleine McCann was kidnapped. But
Yeah.
we won't talk about that.
Yeah, we won't. Yeah, that'd be nice. It's nice to see Ronaldo as well again, still flying. So we'll obviously get to see him in the Aviva too. Hopefully, we can go for it. So yeah, look, it's all ifs and buts as you said earlier as well.
Yeah, keeper. Just there. People might be wondering what the score of the game is. It's the 83rd minute by my clock, and it's Aston Villa 2, Newcastle 0. Jeff Hendrick, very quiet in midfield there.
Yeah, Newcastle have been quiet themselves again. They're really struggling to get a bit of form going here. Can't get the ball up to Callum Wilson, who might actually knock a goal in for them. I think Steve Bruce is gone now in the next few weeks. Personally, I don't know who they're playing next week, but we're playing Leeds during the week. That's two teams who are out of form, so God knows what will happen in that game. Probably be 5-5 or something, both of them going for it. Now the way Leeds play as well. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see Steve Bruce lasting much longer anyway. I think that was always going to be the way. He's probably lasted a bit longer than we all thought. So, madness.
I think he'd be happy enough with a payoff. I don't think if he does get sacked by Newcastle, his reputation has done any damage because of the job he's done. Yeah. I think Steve Bruce over the years has done a good job in a lot of clubs. He was great with Birmingham, pretty good with Wigan. I remember. Who else does he? He was with a couple of clubs. I think he done all right with Sunderland for a while. Didn't he get Asamoah Gyan and those types of players?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was the manager then, and Darren Bent, the likes, Bolo Zend, and getting Asamoah Gyan was some crack. He was. What about the Ghana running the World Cup as well? He gas.
The dancing and all,
Yeah, and then he missed that penalty after Suarez done the handball, and then he scored the penalty after in the shootout. You'd be sick.
Yeah, no, you really would be. Grealish made the wrong decision there. Here's one for you. Best Irish player chant, lads. I reckon it's between Paul McGrath, my lord, Paul McGrath, and 60k, Seamus Coleman. The 60k Seamus Coleman's an Everton chant. It's not really an Irish chant. So is that? Do you mean in terms of their clubs? Sorry, I'm reading your comment here. So, do you mean in terms of clubs, or do you mean in terms of? Because I don't really hear Irish fans singing about players too much. All I hear is there's only one Keano, and that's probably about. I don't recall too many over the years that you can kind of think of a player actually had a specific chant for themselves. Can you, Paul? Because I can't really remember.
Maybe James McLean hates.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. That's my favourite one. That was just one of the greats at Euro 2016. Just such a good laugh, and good times.
Are you saying for clubs? I like the Seamus Coleman one, being an Everton fan. I think it's a really good one. I don't know I don't know too many clubs their chants for our players. Obviously, I know the Coleman one, as I just said, but do you know any, Paul?
Arsenal don't really sing at all, so I mean, there's nothing really there. In terms of Irish players, I mean, obviously just Keano, like you mentioned, Spurs would have sang that as well when he was their captain, done great for them as well. I can't really think of any, to be honest. I can't remember Chelsea fans singing about Duffer that much. A lot of these clubs, their fans are very subdued, prawn sandwiches, the likes. So, there wouldn't have been a lot of that. I can't think of them. I'm sure United would have had one for Roy Keane anyway,
I remember being a kid at a game. I was only young, and I remember some fella singing a song about Roy Keane. He was like, Roy Keane is magic. He wears a magic hat. He could have played for Scotland and something else. He played for could have played for England or Scotland, but he didn't because they're shy. He played for the Republic of Ireland because they're fucking dynamite. There you go. I had to really go back there in my mind of kind of what he did actually say. That was one Roy Keane chant I heard, and I heard it once. That was when I was. That's when we were really good as Ireland, like. But that's the only ones I can kind of think of. Richard Dunn, yeah, he's right there. He said if anyone Man City fans.
Well, they'd have been proper Man City fans back then as well, not like the ones jumping in now, you know.
I wonder, I'd say United fans had one for O'Shea, definitely.
Real fans' favourite, John O'Shea. I mean, he always came in and done a great job for United as well.
Look at what he won.
I know.
Is he not, of most recent years, he'd be right up there in terms of accolades won, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely,
United, anyway.
Yeah, I suppose Duff at Chelsea as well. He won the League Cup and 2 leagues as well, so that's another one too. Robbie Keane, he won the League Cup with Spurs. That's about it, really, isn't it?
He won the league with Celtic.
Yeah, true. That he was great when he went to Celtic that time. So every club Robbie Keane played for, he done well at. Maybe bar Inter, but he was probably a bit too young then as well. And they had Recoba, Adriano, all them coming through as well, you know. So I mean, that's always tough.
The same thing happened to Robbie, or happened to Jack at the moment. Jack Byrne, manager left not long after he signed him.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I think it's a compliment though when you think of, the players that Inter had at that time, and you're kind of thinking of the players that were ahead of Robbie, and they still decided to bring him in. The amount of quality that they had at the time. I think they had Zamorano and Ronaldo and Vieri, and there was another one, Recoba.
Yeah.
They had all these players. I think that's a massive compliment that they wanted Robbie, and he went from Coventry under Gordon Strachan to Inter under Marcello Lippi, I think it was. And then not long after he was gone, I think Tardelli replaced him, funny enough, and never gave him a kick. And then he went on to be the assistant manager for Trapattoni, and they had a great relationship. Well, it seemed like they had a great relationship, and they do on Instagram. They always comment on each other's stuff.
Like Tardelli wasn't the worst, to be fair. Like, I mean, Trapattoni was annoying towards the end, and the fact that he could never really speak English very well. Like, whenever I heard Tardelli, he always had positive enough things to say, whereas you couldn't really understand what Trapattoni was going on about half the time. Like, especially towards the end, it was all dribble.
Yeah, poor old Trapp. He always looked like the angriest man ever.
Yeah. And what was the woman who was always there translating? Manuela or something was her name. She was always there, and she's like, God, this is some job. It's I always remember in the Aviva towards the end with him was Austria, and David Alaba was running them up. But we were winning 2-1, and he brought Paul Green on, and there was some fella calling for a sub all game, just like, come on, Trapp, bring someone on, come on, Trapp, and that's all I could hear behind me for like however long it took him to bring on. Then he brought on Paul Green, and your man was like, go away out of that, Trapp, like, go away out of that. I was like, well, he done something. You've been asking him to do something all night. He done something, and you give out about it, you know?
I think those football fans at the ground who like keep shouting things, thinking that the manager's going to hear them, are the worst football fans ever. It's just like screaming. Like, there's a lad at Dalymount who always turns around and looks at me, and he's like that. Like, he's calling for decisions and stuff like that. And then he turns around, he's like constantly turns around and looks at the media box and starts looking towards the media as if they're like the fourth official, and being like, what's that all about? I was like, I don't know, do you not follow the rules of football? Like,
probably just want to try and be seen on a channel or something, or this fella's a bit of a character.
He doesn't just do it to me, it's to the whole kind of media box, but he's like looking at me, and I'm just like, just watch the game. Like, and it's the worst when you're like games, you think people like you see these people and they're just constantly screaming stuff and thinking that the manager can hear them when they're way over the dugout there at a packed stadium. Like, they can't hear anything, and you just hear them shouting the same stuff, thinking that they're real funny, and then the joke wears off after the fourth or fifth time they've said it at this point, and it was just kind of like, right, okay.
Yeah.
I remember my first beer.
Yeah, like, I mean, you even think of Dalymount there, the Jody stand, like they're across the other side of the pitch. You know, the manager's like, so they're definitely not going to hear him then. Like, you know, mental.
Yeah, but I was even talking about, like, even in Ireland, because you hear people just, oh, you should do this and you should do that, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, oh.
Give over.
Some of them just shout this outrageous stuff just to be heard, and you're just like, just give it over.
Yeah, too many fans like that.
David says, I reckon Trapp was a bit like Bielsa. He knew more English than he let on. And then Daza says, Manuela, correct. She was like his daughter. He also was going mad there in the comments about Frank Stapleton, saying they had a chant for him. Or it's a bit before our time.
Yeah. My dad probably know a bit more about that. My dad's a big United fan, so Frank Stapleton know all about that.
I used to love the Fields of Athenroy in the Irish State, or the Aviva Stadium, sorry, not the Irish Stadium.
Yeah, I think you just miss being able to do it. Like, good save, Darlow, nearly 3-0, and that this game's been over since Villa got the second goal, but Darlow's made a good save there. Probably coming up for you now.
They're on the break from midfield now, centre mid.
Yeah. Tips it away, Will. Strong hand.
El Ghazi's on the ball now, yeah.
He's a good player. I'm surprised he didn't start tonight. I know they didn't need him, but very good player. And important for them since they came up, scored in that playoff final too. That's it.
Yeah, what were you going to say there? Just before talking about El Ghazi?
I was just going to say Frank Stapleton again. Like, obviously he's a great player with United as well, and they have that song about him. Like, I mean, there's so many we would have missed as well, because around that time, maybe just before we were born, we would have just missed. They would have had a lot of songs about the Irish players then.
Yeah, definitely. The game's just ended there now. It's ended 2-0. Aston Villa against Newcastle, and it was, who scored the goals again? Jesus, it was so long. So Watkins and Traore with the goals.
Yeah.
For Villa, Dean Smith looks happy. Was he dismissed for this game?
Yeah, he was given out to the ref on Wednesday for the City game. There was a goal given that was like, it was like another, it wasn't offside because it hit this, and you know there's new rules to it, like we were talking about earlier. And he went mad at the ref. He was like calling him a fucking idiot and all, basically, like on the line, and then he just sent him off. And I think he's gone for 3 games now or something. So Dean Smith seems like a bit of a character anyway. He's a Villa fan as well, so that obviously get him all hot and bothered too.
Yeah, I'm just seeing Jeff Hendrick there looking very upset, just standing at the goal there with the Newcastle players. Don't know what that's all about, but we're going to end the video there. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining, for getting involved in the comments and everything like that. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Don't forget to head over to our Instagram and check out our jersey competition. We have 2 jerseys up for grabs, 2 Ireland jerseys. Head over to our Instagram and check out the details there. It's in the post, everything you got to do. And don't forget to like the video. Huge thanks to Paul Tierney. If you want to follow us as well, socials are under our names there. I will speak to you soon. I'll be back on again tomorrow night with Gary Spain, and if there's something you want us to discuss, we're going to go in at length of all the talking points. So hopefully some Irish players do well tomorrow. I know Preston are playing Reading early at 12 p.m. as well, so that could be one. It's on Sky Sports if you wanted to watch it, but hopefully Malumbi and a few others will be playing in that, Alan Brown and that. So thanks for joining, and we'll speak to you all soon. Paul, if you want to say anything, feel free now.
Just thanks everyone. Chat to you again on Tuesday.